So I am back with an awesome woman CEO. Catherine Hoke is the founder and CEO of Defy Ventures. And I'm so excited to be talking about Defy. It's an innovative entrepreneurship and employment program for people with criminal histories. So Catherine, can you, that's the boilerplate. Tell me a little more about what Defy actually is and what it does.
I would love to. We're an ed tech solution that is solving one of the biggest problems in America, which is a problem of mass incarceration and recidivism in our country. We have a recidivism rate of 76%. And so we work with formerly incarcerated drug dealers and gang leaders. And what we do is we teach them entrepreneurship skills so that they can become legal entrepreneurs. So we are transforming their hustle into legal ventures. And we provide them with mentoring and competitions that will be hosted. One of them will be hosted at Tim Draper's office in January, actually like a Shark Tank, where they're competing for $100,000 in funding for their startups. And we provide them with all the mentoring and the tools and the character development and the leadership development that they need to become successful. We work with men and women, and we were running it as a traditional brick-and-mortar classroom-style model until this year. And then to serve more people and to scale nationally, we changed it into a blended learning model, which is a combination of online learning with in-person transformational stuff events. So they're learning courses that are taught by everything from like 5 Harvard Business School professors to Seth Godin, really best-in-class instruction. And then they come to events where they're mentored by some top executives and business professionals.
So this all sounds nice. Give me some metrics, give me some results.
Sure. So yesterday was Defy's 4-year birthday. And yeah, it was exciting. And in these 4 years now, in New York City, where I live, we served 115 people. But then since rolling out our blended learning model this year, in the last 5 months, we've served another 172 people, including some here in the Bay Area. And our graduates have incorporated 71 legal businesses that we have actually funded. These companies have hired 84 other people for their companies. Our recidivism rate is less than 3%. Our employment rate is 95%. And in 7 months in Defy, our grads, who many of which they come to us and they're like living below the poverty line, they increase their wages by 83%. So it's really working, and we're right on that brink of scale right now.
Why this segment of the population?
I never in a million years thought that I would end up working with incarcerated or formerly incarcerated people. I used to think that anyone in prison was the scum of the earth. When I was 12, a good friend of mine was brutally murdered and by 2 16-year-old boys. So I thought anyone in prison was basically an animal. But my story is that I'm a Cal grad, go Bears. And then right out of that, I started working for a venture capital firm, Summit Partners, here in Palo Alto. And when I was 26, I was invited on a Texas prison visit. And I was like, no thanks at first. But the person who invited me worked at JP Morgan, and she started convincing me that many of the greatest underdogs in America, they were inside prisons. So I flew out to Texas on this prison visit, and thinking I was going on a zoo tour or something. And on that first visit, when I started speaking with the men, and I also went to a women's prison, when I started speaking with them in prison about what landed them in there, in the first place, I realized that many of these people were not too dissimilar from the entrepreneurs that I was seeking out in my venture capital business. I was always looking for good ROI stories, and many of these people were not just aspiring entrepreneurs, but proven entrepreneurs. Like when you've been running a drug ring or a gang, many of these guys have really pretty incredible sales skills. They know how to manage things to get things done. They have a strong profit orientation. The one thing that they really could have used some work on was their risk management strategies, because they all got busted and ended up in prison. But I wondered, like, what would happen if these guys were equipped to go legit with their business skills?
So you started something called the Prison Entrepreneurship Program in Texas. And I don't want this to be super awkward, but I have to ask you about some things that came up on Google when I was prepping for this. There was some scandal coming out of that program. Would you be willing to talk a little bit about what happened?
Yeah, so I started Prison Entrepreneurship Program, PEP, which is still in Texas today, when I was 27. And I ran it for the next 5 years. And just like many of you who are entrepreneurs, I had tunnel vision as I was building up my organization. And we led it to achieve some of the greatest results in the country, like a less than 5% recidivism rate to this day. But in the process of growing and building this organization, I was previously married, and I missed many opportunities to be a wife. And when I was 31, I'm 37 now, when I was 31, I was divorced, and that came unexpectedly for me. And in the wake of my divorce, I ended up making some decisions that I really regret. It was almost like a classic rebound story, but with a different twist, I guess. I had relationships with people who had been released from the prison system. And it wasn't illegal, but I knew it was a terrible leadership decision, and it went against my own values. And the one thing that I did very well in my crisis was that I was very honest about it, even though I knew that my honesty could end up costing me my leadership and everything else, and it did. The news picked up the story. I was forced to resign very publicly. The news went out nationally, then the news went out globally, so it's not hard to find on Google. And I have to share it all the time. And I used to go around asking people, what would it be like if you were known for the worst thing that you've ever done? And that became my own story. And after that news went out, I was so ashamed. I hated my own guts so badly that I tried to kill myself. I had no vision, very passion-driven person. And it was the amazing thing that was so shocking to me was that after I sent this out, we had 7,500 supporters at Prison Entrepreneurship Program, and many of them were executives. And I got 1,000 emails of love and support, and what are you doing next? And we stand with you. And I didn't have an answer for what I was doing next, but it was these people who I spent the next year like going through a lot of therapy and getting my life back on track, and I moved back to New York City. But it was these people who loved me back to life, almost literally. I felt like I was dead. And it's part of why I'm such a big fan of second chances, because today I have my second chance to create second chances for others. And had people not believed in me and equipped me when I was at the most depressing point in my entire life 5 years ago, I certainly wouldn't be here today, but I wouldn't be given the opportunity to give chances to other people.
So the work that you do, I find personally really compelling because I have an uncle who was incarcerated. There was a huge stigma in my family about that. It still isn't something that we talk about. There's a lot of baggage there.
And you said, when we just to put you out there, since you just put me out there, but that was the,
she gets her
it's okay. That was the first time when you told me about your uncle. It was the first time you've ever shared that.
Chinese people don't talk about those things outside the family.
It's not just Chinese people. People don't talk. There's so much shame that family members carry when someone in their family has messed up, whether it's serving time or just becoming a drug addict or whatever it is.
So I wish there had been a program like this when he got out of prison, because I saw how he drifted and he couldn't really find his way. Yeah. What do you look for in the entrepreneurs? How do you connect? Because you're here, they're there, and you need to meet somewhere in the middle.
Sure. So we look for people who can prove their leadership in their old criminal lives. So if a guy was not even good at selling crack on the street corner, then he might not make the best entrepreneur either. And so we're looking for people who are charismatic. And the most important thing that we look for is that they take ownership of their past. Because if they want to continue engaging in criminal things, then we're not smart or persuasive enough to offer them tools. But if they are sick and tired of who they used to be and they're ready to move forward in their lives, which so many people out of prison, the recidivism rate is 76%, not because they just want to go back and commit crime, but because they don't know that there are other alternatives. They don't know that there are people out there who really do believe in second chances, and believing in second chances is awesome, but doing something to actually provide a second chance is that much more awesome. We need to open doors, because when people like your uncle get out of prison, even if they want to flip burgers at McDonald's, you have a felony on your track record, forget it. Your resume is going in the trash pile. So That's why I'm fired up about second chances for people. And this is a little known fact. 100 million Americans have criminal histories. Even in California, nearly 1 in 4 US adults have criminal histories, and it's becoming a worse and worse problem, and it's happening at younger ages. So 30-year-olds, or sorry, out of 23-year-olds today, 30% of them have criminal histories. And if any of you in the audience are employers, I would say your competitors are not hiring out of this talent pool. And Jared talked about it from the stage earlier. He sold drugs. So many of these people are very entrepreneurial, and they can make excellent salesmen at your companies.
So what are you doing to reach more people? Talk a little more about the growth strategies that you're deploying now.
Sure. So I had a lot of mentors who saw me through my tough time, and they said that when I started Defy, build an infrastructure that can truly be nationally scalable, that can bring change about nationally. And so it was from some mentors kicking my butt that led me to think outside the box to create this blended learning model, the combination of online training with in-person mentoring and transformational events. And so this has been my dream, to bring opportunities that could achieve national change. And last month, we started serving here in California for the first time. So today, we are actually serving our very first group of people in California. We have only 25 right now. Last month, I got to speak at SoCap, and people from Google heard me speak, and I think they want to help put us on the face of the map in the Bay Area. So we are growing now, and we also have a distance learning program. So we are actually already, in just 5 months now, we're serving people. We call them EITs, Entrepreneurs in Training. I hate the word ex-con. We're serving EITs in 8 states already, just 5 months later. This is what technology has done to change us and how we're using it to change the world.
So Google, good friends to have. You've also got a bunch of interesting entrepreneurs who are helping as lecturers, teachers. What do you look for in those people? Who's right for that role?
We have been so spoiled with the most incredible mentors and business plan competition judges who fly out even internationally to participate in what we do. We actually, in the last 2.5 years, have recruited 2,500 executives and professional volunteers who have given 12,500 hours to Defy. And they serve, so if any of you who are here want to serve, you can serve as a mentor, like a one-on-one mentor. We say that our guys are like the fighter in the ring, and then you're their coach, helping them to win that business plan competition. We have people who come and serve as judges. If any of you are experts in a certain topic, then we'd love to film you to put you into our online training curriculum. We have employers. I mean, we even use doctors and lawyers. Lawyers can help our guys to create LOIs as they acquire their customers. So our volunteers serve in all types of capacity. And especially with our online courses, we have everything from job placement courses to how to access financing, even with a felony courses. And they're incredible people like Seth Godin and even Tim Draper is one of our instructors as well.
Speaking of Seth Godin and Tim Draper, why don't we have a look at a video that is a clip from an actual Defy online training course, right?
Yeah,
this is the real thing.
This is what EITs see when they take these courses online.
So let's play that video.
It's easy to hide. It's easy to hide from saying, I can't start a business, I don't have any great ideas. I can't start a business, I don't have anything original to do. And I'm calling your bluff. No one asked you to invent something. All we're asking you to do is put your whole self on the line to make a huge promise to people and then keep it. But the promise is, I will solve your problem, not I'm a genius who's inventing a new business that's never existed before.
For 15 years, he's been outgunned. Bankers demanding blood refund. Companies looking moribund. Even Draper will not fund. He is the risk master, lives fast, drives faster, skates on the edge of disaster. He is the risk master. Anyway, the song goes on from there. He goes through a very difficult time. All of a sudden, the salesman says, we've got it. Company's going to show a profit. And then he's so successful, everybody wants a piece of his hide, and court wants him tried, and everybody's after him because he's so successful. So that's going to be you. You are the risk master.
While Tim joins us on stage, Catherine, why Tim? Why is he the kind of guy you want helping you?
Why Tim? I love this man because he's just a little bit crazy, and we're a lot crazy. Hi.
Good to see you.
And so it just makes a good marriage. People who are willing to go off the beaten path a little bit and take a risk, and risk masters, there's not really a better fit. I mean, we are risk masters ourselves as well.
You know, what she does is really heroic. It's really amazing what Defy is doing. They're taking, you know, our society somehow is just putting all of these good people into a can and keeping them away because they're scary, they're potentially scary for us. Well, sure, if society decides that's the right thing to do, that's fine, but we're having to put more and more people into that can, and that is a scary thing. And what Catherine has done is really change the way we look at somebody who comes out of prison. Somebody who comes out of prison, you know, they can go land a job, and then all of a sudden the background check comes, and then the guy goes, sorry, you can't have the job. So if they go off and they become great entrepreneurs, then again, it's just, the sky's the limit. They can go start whatever they want and go make a great business happen and make a living and support their families and make a positive impact on society, and she's really done something extraordinary. She put two things together: people who are coming out of prison and entrepreneurship, and it's not an obvious thing that would happen there, but it's magical. And she started, I don't know, how many companies have come out of Defy?
71
71
incubated
companies.
and financed companies.
So I think this is the perfect time to meet some of these entrepreneurs. Let's bring the guys out.
Hold on, real quick. Sorry, Trep. Before we do, okay, so one of the guys is from our California team here, so he is brand new to Defy, like 3 weeks, and he's never shared his story on stage. And I'm gonna ask them to share their stories, and it's really like nerve-wracking. And you guys have been a really quiet audience, and so I would love it if you would like hoop and holler a little bit to make them feel super welcome, so that they can share their stories of transformation. So can we make a deal? Will you warmly welcome the EITs, please? Thank you.
So have a
Thank
seat,
you.
guys. Catherine, why don't you take things from here for a few minutes, and let's hear some stories.
Sure. Okay. Are you guys okay? How do you feel?
I'm a bit nervous.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Awesome. Somewhere in between nervous and awesome.
Okay. All right, okay. So we're going to start off with this. I don't want you to be known permanently for the worst thing that you've done. But they always want to know, well, what did you do? So let's get the hard part out of the way first. Jeff did it to me, too. So will you introduce yourself, say your name, your age, how much time you did, and give them a summary of your rap sheet?
My name is Jose Vasquez. I am 28 years old. I served 2.5 years in prison for conspiracy to distribute heroin.
Good afternoon. My name is Lacia Palmer. I'm 45 years old. I served a total of 21 years in prison for robbery.
My name is Matthew Carbajal. I'm 34 years old. I've spent 11 years of my life locked up. My last conviction was for 5 years for aggravated assault.
And Matthew is our San Francisco-based EIT entrepreneur in training. So this is his first time getting to share his story here. The other two, they're New Yorkers. So, okay, so you know, no one is born out of the womb saying, one day when I grow up, I want to become a criminal. So can you talk about some of the childhood experiences that led up? It's all too similar for us. So can you talk about some of the experiences that you had that led up to your...
Yeah. So I was raised by a single mother, didn't have a father in my life. So at a really young age, I felt I had to become the man of my household, right? So by the age of 16, I started selling heroin. I was making about $2,000 to $3,000 a day. I had 5 people working for me. at which point in 2009, I was convicted of my charge and sent to prison. While I was in prison, I was reunited with my father and 3 cousins at the same time.
All behind bars.
All behind bars.
Like a family reunion in a different place.
Correct.
Yeah, which again is all too common.
Correct.
Lasia?
For me, it started out, I had my first experience with a handgun at 11 years old. I experienced my first arrest at 13, and this is when I felt the power of a gun, or the influence of a gun. Many of y'all probably grew up playing cowboys and Indians. Where I grew up, it was cops and robbers, and nobody wanted to be the cop. You know, we used to fight over actually who was going to be the cop. So that's what my life was about.
Okay, thank you. And Matthew, when we were right before this, you showed me something pretty powerful about how you started your life. You mind sharing that?
Yeah, so I have a picture in my pocket. It's the only picture I have of my father holding me, and it's in maximum security visitation center. I was 6 months old. That's the last time he would touch me.
And then where did you go from there with your life?
I started getting arrested at 12 years old. At 15, they put me in a group home. I ran away a week later and started selling cocaine.
And at Defy, we're not here to save anybody or to talk them out of it, but many of them get sick and they learn their lessons and they want a different way of living. But as I mentioned before, sometimes society can be very unforgiving. So why did you decide to transform? What was your catalyst for transformation?
The moment I changed my life really was during my first visit. So my mother and my grandmother were coming to visit me, and I remember being so excited, 2 most important people in my life. They didn't know I was actually behind glass. So if you guys could think about it, standing so close, but yet so far, I had about 4 inches of glass separating us. And as I stood there and I seen the pain that my actions caused, that's what impacted my life. And that day I told them I would never hurt them that way, and I would only make them proud from that day on.
For me, you would think 21 years in prison, the day I got sentenced, my life turned around. No, 75% of my incarceration, I was still committing crime. I thought it was my only way or my only tool available to take care of my family. I was in the box for solitary confinement for the 3rd time, and my son was arrested. And for the idea of being a successful father, committing crime, making sure my family was all right, I was actually doing the opposite. The idea of destroying my family really tore my life up. It, turned my life up and down. It still affects me today every time I talk about it. It was at that point, the fear of being in prison with my son. Hearing his story, hearing his that's what made me turn my life around.
Matthew, why did you decide to change your life?
I lost my best friend to federal prison. He's serving life. I lost my other best friend to cancer. I felt alone. I had to look at everything around me, and I just decided it had to stop. Something had to change. I was ashamed of who I was and how I was living my life, and I left everything I knew to start that journey.
Thank you for sharing that. So when you ask me what we look for in people, we look for people who take ownership and they say, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to cause that pain to myself. I don't want to cause that pain to my children, to my family members. And so we're very proud of the decisions that you made, because it's really easy when you get out to get discouraged and to say it's easier to get smarter in prison university, and then go out and sell drugs again, but a smarter way this next time around. And you guys chose not to do that. So they got out of prison and they enrolled in Defy. And through Defy, they started their businesses. So we put them through this super tough process. Tim actually knows some of these guys and has been a judge in our business plan competitions. So give them a quick elevator pitch here of the company that you started. Tell them what it is.
Well, with individuals like yourself, my mentors, I was able to start a personal concierge service called Happy Vida. We're actually TaskRabbit's biggest unknown competitor. So that's what I started.
All right, Happy Vida.
For me, I started legal tech. You don't know, I did 21 years for robbery. I robbed diamond districts from New York City, San Francisco, Miami, and Philadelphia. That's why I served time in prison. I found out that I had a knack for seeing glitches in security. But what you don't know, I spent 21 years trying to get out of prison by practically living in the law library. So I learned the law, and I combined those two, and I created legal tech. With legal tech, I create complaint management platforms for companies. I insulate them from liability, from employer liability and consumer liability. That's what I do now.
And Matthew, being our newest San Francisco EIT here, is only 3 weeks deep with Defy, so he hasn't started a company yet, but talk about your dreams, for your entrepreneurial dreams.
My entrepreneurial dreams include starting a hospitality staffing agency. I've worked in restaurants my whole life from the age of 16, and I really love to interact with people. I love to be of service to people. I love the thank yous and the gratitude that I get from taking care of guests. And that's what I'd like to do.
Great. See, I told you they would like you. So Jose, you are no longer actually running, or not very actively, or maybe on the side. Tell them what you're doing now, why you stopped doing Happy Vida full time.
You can thank me later, TaskRabbit. But I've been blessed to be placed in a position where I'm able to offer real opportunity. Right, so now I am the recruiter, the dean of admissions here at Defy Ventures, and I'm the guy that gets these great gentlemen into the program. As you guys see in all three of us, right, that generational change. So my father went to prison, you know, Laz's son, Matthew's dad. So what we're doing is we're equipping them with the tools to start these companies that now when I have a child, he doesn't have to sell drugs. You know, we're impacting communities tremendously, offering real opportunities, right? When I was growing up, I only had two options. Either you sell crack or you sell heroin, right? So a lot of people say we're in the business of second chances, but for many of us, it's a first real chance. You know, and with individuals like yourselves to get involved and believe in us and help us, having individuals like Tim support us really gives us that drive and that force to want to make something great, right? Because yes, we've made mistakes, but that should not define us, right? We all have made mistakes. So I've been extremely blessed to be placed in that position to recruit and offer real opportunities to the people that need it the most.
Awesome. We teach all of our grads, because people like yourselves are so generous and giving of your time, also pay it forward. So give back, and that's what Jose is doing, and we're really, really proud of that. We couldn't have a better role model. So Lacia, with Legal Tech, what can people in this audience do to help you out as you grow your business and maybe scale it from New York to the Bay Area?
Well, I would like to do business with individuals in the Bay Area. If you're interested in that, I would like to spend 5 minutes with you afterwards or before I leave the Bay Area. I would like, before you speak to me, those to give me a bear hug. I love the fact that I feel human once again, you know. And for many years, it's been hard, but to actually feel human, to be sitting up here and be acknowledged. Tim Draper recognized me. I played basketball with him in Madison Square Garden. And
he's a lot better than I am.
You know, the idea of just feeling human is awesome, and I appreciate y'all just listening.
Thank you. Yeah, we're sticking around. We're going to be here through tomorrow. We're going to the parties tonight and everything.
I also love, we had a bear hug backstage, but then he talked about what he's doing just regularly to stay in shape, and he's running 5 miles. Imagine somebody who's been in prison all that time, cooped up, and all of a sudden he gets to run 5 miles a day. Yeah. And he's loving it. So, you know, that freedom we all have
Defy
experienced.
Workout.
let's all appreciate that, because I know I could have made there were a lot of marginal calls where I could have easily ended up with these guys in prison. And I fortunately, whatever, had a better chances or education or whatever that allowed me to just stay on this side of those walls. But all of us, you've run stop signs that can go to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and you can get there too. So, I think we've really got to do something to give these guys a good chance, get them out and going again.
So we're not all Tim Draper. I wish I were. I wish my bank account were.
Me, same here.
What can we do?
Yeah. So Matthew said that tell them really quick, because this answers your question, but like, what can these people do for us here?
When I first got online and I saw the Defy program and what they were offering, I was by myself at home and I started crying because I realized that someone actually did care, that someone understood, that someone got it. And you can care and you can participate in Defy. We're new to the Bay Area. We're looking for volunteers. We're looking for people to offer time, insight, to vet business ideas before they make it to Tim Draper.
I told you they're natural-born hustlers. That was a great ask. So since you're here in the Bay Area, and many of you have your phones out and you're tweeting about maybe how you were crying while they were talking or whatever, take your phones out, and if you want to get involved, we would love to have you since we're new here to the Bay, and we need volunteers. So I'm going to give you my email address if you write it down. If you want to be involved, if you're serious about life transformation, cat, like rare, cat, at Defy, C-A-T, at defyventures.org, not .com, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. So cat at defyventures.org. And if you want to be involved and you have some freedom, tomorrow night, October 2nd, Google is actually hosting an event for us in San Francisco. And it's our kickoff event for Matthew and his 25 peers there. So we'd love to have you as a volunteer. If that's too short a notice, come back, because we have monthly events that we're going to be here in the Bay Area. You can mentor. If any of you can hire the biggest underdogs in America, we would love to have you. You can learn more about how to provide a scholarship, because we're all privately funded, no government funding. There's so many different ways, and you can become, if you're a real stud, you can become an online faculty member like Tim that will serve us in changing lives across America. That's what you can do.
So one last thing to close out our session. You told me there was a little Defy icebreaker kind of thing you wanted us all to do that I'm kind of nervous about.
Okay, well, this is how you're nervous about it. I love it, because so at the beginning of a Defy event, when we start a new group like we did here in San Francisco, I just want you to picture the room. Okay, on one side of the room we have all of our hardcore executives and volunteers, and then on the other side of the room we have all of our guys and women also who are out of prison and who are super macho and tough. So we need to break the ice. So what I say is, okay, get your mean mugs off your face, and what I want you to do right now is go ahead and bear hug each other. No cheap pats on the back, no actually bear hug. And it's 2014, so I want 14 bear hugs. Count them out. 14, 13, 12. So you guys got a lot more awesome and warm, but you look like you could use a little bit of love with one another. So can I get a bear hugging demonstration? This is how we're going to wrap up right here. So I'm dead serious. Go ahead and love your neighbor a little bit. Hug,
14 bear hugs each out there.
You're mean mugging me more than my own guys do. Go. 14 bear hugs.
Oh, boy. Oh, my God, you're strong.
Yeah, this guy's he's an ox.
250 pounds. Holy cow.
Good job. So we get bear hugs here. If you didn't get enough bear hugs, we will be around at Techmanity and would love to get more bear hugs and give them out.
Will you all join me in thanking the Defy team for their work?
That's a great